Hi folks, welcome back to IndyCar. Now you probably know I've already taken down my earlier broadcast from today, and you might be thinking, well, what was wrong with the first broadcast? Well, the problem with the first broadcast is, you know how they say you should never go to bed angry, right? Well, it's a bit like that with me this morning. You should never really post a video when you're angry about something because, well, to my mind at least, it came over as unprofessional this morning. And I think at the very least, I need to make some qualifications to what I was saying this morning. The first part of the broadcast was largely about the news items that day. So I was talking about the polls. Just excuse me a moment, I'm just going to rotate you around a little bit. Get my camera the right way around. Hold on. This may take a moment. There we go. Thank you. Sorry, just be patient. Can you see me the right way up or am I the wrong way up here? Oh dear, right, hang on. We'll go again. It's okay. Never mind, we'll leave it as it is. My phone has a problem with right way and wrong way up this morning. Okay, so I was talking about why we hadn't seen any sign of the SNP politicians around about the rally. Now I want to make a couple of corrections because I was wrong about several things this morning because I was going off on a rant. The first one is that there were SNP politicians there, and I know that Stuart Hosey was there because he was part of the Indy bikers, the Yes bikers who turned up. I also know that Keith Brown would have been there because Keith is actually in charge really of maintaining contact between the SNP and the movement in general outside of the party. So that much was true. There were people there, so I'm wrong about that. Accept that. The other thing is that a number of people were pointing out in my first video that I was failing to take into account that Nicola couldn't comment or support the march because it might have been deemed to be an illegal march because of the way Mani Singh behaved prior to the march by going ahead with the 1:30 start time in defiance of the council's changed arrangements to make it 11 o'clock. So we end up with a problem here, which is that the organiser of the event changes, or not changes the time, but sticks to the original time in defiance of the council, which supposedly makes it illegal and he gets charged, which makes it impossible for Nicola Sturgeon to support the march. Well, not really. It makes it impossible for her to support the march as an official sort of independence march, but she could still have commented on the fact that 150,000 people showed up to show their support for independence. That was a major achievement. But this illustrates my whole point. The whole problem is this disconnection between the party on one side and the movement on the other. And the party is this size, the movement is huge, right? So we've got the party which does the work of having to deal with the politicians in Westminster, which is fine. We accept that they have to work within Westminster's rules. And I know that the SNP is trying its best at the moment to show that it's working for everybody in Scotland, not just to the people who want independence, but working for everyone and trying to protect Scotland from the effects of Brexit. And that is its duty. And as a politician, you're not as free to take part in things like marches as you might think. You have to not only toe the party line, but you also have to show that you are representing the people who elected you and that you're taking the office that you hold seriously and you're working within its parameters. Okay, so accept all of that, and I'm sorry if I offended everybody this morning with some of my ranting. So to replace those, let's talk about why this kind of situation is developing. My constant criticism ever since I started supporting independence is the lack of proper communication between the party, which is the political wing of the movement, if you like, and the movement itself. The movement itself is a headless, amorphous mass of people who self-generate their own events. So they can't really be led. We are the equivalent of William Wallace's rabble of peasants, right? We want to fight the fight, but we're doing it our own way. So it's very difficult for us to be led by anybody, really, when we need local organisers to make things happen, and we've got them, which is terrific. But we have still got this disconnection between the political party at Westminster, I'm making a specific distinction, Westminster party, and what happens here at home. Now, what should happen here at home is the MSPs from the SNP should turn up and help with these marches. Now, a few have done so, but not that many, I noticed. More could have taken part. And in fact, people like Keith Brown, who's really been appointed to help steer the independence campaign, should really be given much more latitude to organise huge events like this as well. I mean, the SNP's got considerable resources at its disposal in the party that could be directed towards exactly this kind of grassroots activity, but we don't really see it happening. These movements, such as Mani Singh's efforts and Neil Mackay's efforts, are self-starters, and they're generated by people who are not afraid of confrontation and have a confrontational style of demonstrating things. That doesn't sit well with everybody, and so if the SNP really wants to connect itself to the movement, then it needs to start organising some events of its own, and big events, not just little stalls on side streets, although those are necessary, but a big set piece event in the city's capital like Edinburgh would be fantastic if we can get Keith Brown, Stuart Hosey and other MSPs together with the movement's own leaders to come out with something dramatically better than what we've seen so far. Something which the politicians can connect themselves to, that's not illegal, where we can perhaps get Mani to take a step back from his confrontational style and work with party officials, work with the SNP, maybe even work with the Green Party, and have a massive coalition event which could fill Edinburgh with 250,000 or more people and have a fantastic citywide event. The problem is this disconnect. We do have people in the movement who, for reasons best known to themselves, do like to promote themselves and put themselves in the limelight. And there are always people who want to be the centre of attention. I'm probably one of them. But if we're fighting some kind of battle like this, we need to pull together, and my post this morning that I made when I was angry was a mistake, and I'm happy to have taken it down and deleted it, because A, it wasn't very professional, B, it wasn't helping the cause, C, it's causing divisions, and it switches people off when you start doing things like that. So I guess as a great example of how not to do it, that post of mine this morning was brilliant, because it actually showed what the problem is at the moment. The frustrations are boiling over with all of us, and that's what happened with me this morning. But as I say, there's a positive to come out of this, and that is that we need to connect with people like Keith Brown. Now, I've met Keith Brown, I've spoken to Keith, and I suspect, although I'm sure somebody may correct me about this, that most mainstream politicians and MSPs in Holyrood are not really as experienced in dealing with the sort of broader movement, the grassroots movement, as the rest of us are. They're not used to its ways, its strange sort of pop-up flash mob mentality. This is a new thing for for politicians, professional politicians have to deal with. And I think we need to get him and other SNP members involved in how social media spreads this kind of activity around, how we work around Facebook's algorithms, and how we can organise something so gigantic and so massive for Edinburgh or Glasgow or wherever that it can't be ignored. But there's something wrong at the moment. There is a distance between politicians and activists, and that needs to be closed. And my frustrations this morning just came out of that exact frustration, that feeling that we are so far away from what's happening both in Westminster and Holyrood at the moment. I know, and I think we all suspect that that Pete Wishart's efforts to get elected to Speaker of the House of Commons are a diversion. They are almost like a comic relief. You know, they're a piece of theatre. He may well actually, because most of the Commons is theatre, he might well succeed and actually get elected as the Speaker of the House. That would be fantastic fun, to have an SNP member conducting the business of the House of Commons. That would be incredible. Will it happen? Probably not, but it is fun to think about. So I think we can all see that is probably just exactly what this is. It's a piece of fun, really. They're poking fun at the system and basically using up the time running it down towards 2021. Now, bearing in mind that 2021 is the year when the current lifespan of the Scottish Government comes to an end and the mandate for independence runs out at that point. Now, it's obvious that's why David Mundell would say you can't have a referendum until after the mandate runs out, because he would say that, wouldn't he? He doesn't want you to have a mandate for a referendum at all, never mind give you a Section 30 order for it. So he's bound to be waiting for it to run out. Anyway, forgive me, just a couple of notifications popping up on my phone. So where was I? Oh yeah, alright, so Mundell wants us not to have any referendums until after the period where we've got a mandate for one, right, which is the most stupid thing that he could possibly state, because it's so bleeding obvious that that would stop us having a referendum in the first place. However, it does get you thinking about the amount of time that's left in the mandate to actually work on a referendum or some other form of, or some other method of voting on independence. So we do only have this year, next year and a little bit of 2021 to go. I mean, that's it. We have 2 years in which to organise it. Strangely, it was 2 years to organise the first referendum, if you remember. It started in 2012. It went on for 2 years. We got up to 50%, maybe a little bit more. And then we got sabotaged by the Three Amigos. This time, if we're giving them 2 years notice again, will they not just simply do the same thing? Maybe we should act more quickly than that. Anyway, my point, I think, today is IndyCar, if nothing else this morning, is a prime example of why you should not do a live feed when you're in a bad mood about something. And I was in a bit of a black mood this morning about the lack of any coordination between the political wing of the independence movement and the movement itself. We need to combine the SNP and the Greens on one side with the movement, blend them together to come up with a master plan for gigantic public events. Just think what we could do if we had the resources of the SNP and the Green Party and all of the machinery and all of the publicity and PR materials that they can produce to organise a gigantic event. We had proved that as a movement, we have people who are capable of putting together gigantic events like this, and it's not just Mani Singh and Neil Mackay who organised all under one banner. And it's also people like Martin Keatings who organises smaller but just as valuable rallies and events in places like Dunfermline. There are people everywhere doing it, but what we need is some coordination. The SNP could provide it. But what I'm asking at the moment is, why aren't they doing that already? I know Keith Brown has been put in charge of trying to coordinate and connect with the movement. Maybe we just need a bit more of a, not committee structure, but some kind of meeting of minds, some kind of forum where we can all get together and organise a gigantic countrywide celebration of what it will be like to be independent. I'm sure it can be done. In fact, I'm sure that the 250,000 people that all under one banner are hoping to get in Edinburgh next year, not only can that be done, I think it could be surpassed. I would like to go for a national street party with 2.5 million Scots, over half the population, invited out onto the streets to celebrate what it will be like to be independent. Why can't we organise something like that? That connects the party with the movement. At the moment, there's a disconnect, and it's causing simmering resentment from people within the movement. Even like myself, I start to feel resentment and frustration and nothing's happening. We're not being told anything, and we're left struggling to organise events by ourselves, bootstrapping without any funding whatsoever. That's it, basically, today. So I've taken down what I felt was a poor show. It wasn't good, all right? I didn't put forward any positive answers or solutions in that show. Here I'm trying to do that, and I accept the criticisms that people made of the show this morning, by the way, that I was being divisive, and so I'm not going to do that. Okay, that show's been pulled. It's not going back up. This one will stand in its place. I'll always, and I've tried to build this show's reputation on honesty, and if I'm honest with myself, this morning's show was well below the standard I can usually produce, and I just allowed myself to get annoyed, and I do that from time to time. You'll find occasionally I'll come out with a post which is a bit of a rant, and it may not make as much sense as it should, so I apologise for that, but I'm hoping that you'll take my mistakes as a prime example of what is wrong at the moment and why we need to fix this before other activists and other people make the same mistake and we start to see divisions and splits occurring in this movement. We need to glue it together, and to glue it together we need a structure. We don't have a structure. There needs to be a link between SNP and movement, and it needs to happen now. That's it for today. Okay, I'll see you all later. Have a great day. I'm on Broadcasting Scotland, presenting Scotland at 7 tonight at 7 PM if you're interested. So tune in to YouTube around 7 o'clock, or if you can't make it on YouTube at 7, watch the recording. It's available on YouTube as soon as it's uploaded. You can also probably see a repeat of the programme, which I'll connect up somehow or other with my Facebook account later on. But anyway, I look forward to seeing you tonight, hopefully for Scotland at 7. Let me know what you think about this idea of trying to connect the party with the movement in a much bigger, spectacular way. I'm sure we could organise a gigantic event, a countrywide event. Can you imagine 2.5 million people on the streets and have official counts of how many people are actually out in each individual town, so that we can completely blow away all the nonsense from Scotland and Union and a force for good who always claim that we've only got a couple of thousand. Okay, I'll leave it at that for today. Have a great day everybody, and I'll see you all tonight on Scotland at 7. Bye for now.